In this video, I really want to talk about how excited I am for Spider-Man Homecoming coming out this week, July 7th, technically showing July 6th, which is when I'm going at 11:15 p.m., real late. Rather than going with my wife and dragging her like I did for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I coordinated with some friends, so I'm not that alone 30-year-old man going to a movie by myself. I mean, I'm so stoked for this movie that this is, I got me some Funko Pops. And this is something that I'm going to be doing with all Marvel releases, is talk about my thoughts of the upcoming movie, grab a Funko Pop or two or maybe three. On my list is the Vulture, definitely want to get him. And then on my wish list is obviously the last two for the collection is Stark and Peter Parker. But I don't want to spend $50 on toys that are just going to sit on a shelf. I want to get the ones that are most important for the movie. Three things I want to talk about: cinematography, the storyline, and my only worries. To start off, I am an MCU nerd. I'm not an OG like comic nerd. When I grew up as a kid, I had DC trading cards given to me by my dad, but I never really did anything with them. I like looked at them every once in a while. I didn't really get it. And those were like old school cards, so they were like the old style comic book drawings. And as a kid growing up in an age where computers and graphics were starting to get better and better, that didn't seem that interesting to me. I was always into gaming. Comic books just never were my thing. And then immediately after the first few Hulk movies, that Iron Man movie came out, and they did that post-credit scene where Iron Man, Tony Stark, is like, "I'd like to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative." I fell in love immediately because I thought, oh my god, they're gonna like start arching movies over movies. And you know, as that progressed even more, where they started referencing previous movies and then they got to the Avengers, everyone came together. It was like, you never really saw that in anything else. Like, none of these are actually connected movies. It's something that hasn't really been done. Obviously, there's a sequel to, you know, a previous movie, but there hasn't ever been separated movies then come together as a big movie, and then after that connected even more, referencing past movies that had nothing to do with their storyline. Super stoked about that. Try not to ramble on too much. I want this video to be a little bit shorter than it's currently looking to be. But back to Spider-Man Homecoming. So even aside from not being a comic book nerd in the beginning, I also didn't really think much about Spider-Man. I definitely watched the Tobey Maguire ones. I watched the, what is his name? Andrew Garfield versions. You know, both of them had their goods and bads. Obviously, a lot of people are super critical on the third Spider-Man with Tobey and the second Spider-Man with Andrew. And I enjoyed those movies, but it didn't really get me hyped for Spider-Man. And I don't know if it's maybe because I'm so hyped about MCU movies in general, that when Spider-Man was announced that he'd be in Civil War and some of the clips came out, I just immediately jumped on the bandwagon. I'm not gonna lie, bandwagon fan right here for Spider-Man. Jumped on Netflix, was watching some of the cartoon stuff that had come out for Ultimate Spider-Man, did a little bit more research. He is just such an awesome character, and the way that they're doing it makes him look so much more organic and so much more from the comics. In my opinion, the Tobey Maguire ones were a little bit rough on the costume, and then the Andrew Garfield ones were just a little too shiny. Flash forward to now with the Tom Hollands Spider-Man, and you've got a really solid looking, like the colors are not too bright, they're muted a little bit, the lines aren't like jumping out in your face. You got the little logo in the front, the big logo in the back. You got a lot of the original stuff, and I like how it's doing its best to stay original. And that's where I think the old Spider-Man sort of fell apart, was because, you know, Sony just doesn't know what they're doing. So let's get into why I wanted to do this video. Three things I'm most excited about in the upcoming movie based on what we know from the trailers. So number one, cinematography. I'm basing this off of the trailer, and obviously trailers are only showing you a little bit of what they're going to be doing. Not all of the CGI has been completed. As you may have noticed when there was a couple different articles out from Screen Rant and all the other different publications that were showing like the side-by-side of him being pulled apart by the ship. One of them looked very muted, the other one looked much more detailed. That stuff doesn't really happen until the very end, right before they start showing it in theaters. Sometimes right up until that last minute, like they did with Avengers and the falafel cutscene. And what I can say, at least overall, I'm so excited for the visuals. It looks super crisp, there's tons of great action, and the cutscenes are just amazing. What more can you ask for with a kid slinging around New York flying next to Tony Stark? Like, some of those scenes are just gonna be epic. One of the negative things that I can say, and this is based on my viewing experience with Civil War, is everything was great when he's fighting, when he's flying around trying to get Falcon and he's going up against Winter Soldier. The one negative criticism I have with the cinematography there, or CGI implementation, was when he landed with the group and they were about to start like merging into each other. That landing was kind of sloppy in my opinion. It was just like, you can see how fake he was. The positioning was kind of off. I know they were trying to go for that original Spidey like stance at the bottom, full squat, but I think they could have done it a little bit better. But hey, tiny little piece in a gigantic movie. So my only worry is that they might do that a little bit here and there, because there's going to be a ton of CGI, and I know with a lot of these movies they have to cover their body with CGI instead of costuming them. But overall, I'm super excited about the cinematography and I cannot wait to check it out. 1 minute, gotta take my meat off the smoker. And we're back. All right, so number 2, the storyline. I think this is one of the things that I'm most excited for because of the struggles, especially a lot of the criticism, but the struggle of what the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield versions showed was, you know, Spider-Man is a high school kid. He's gained his powers and he wants to be this responsible figure, but still has to get through school. I think, especially right now, with a lot of the topics like 13 Reasons Why and some of the things that have been coming up lately, the high school storyline is so important. And since this is not just, you know, a kid's movie or an adult movie, it's also age group that does struggle in high school trying to figure out whether or not they still need to be a kid or find responsibility. I think the first 3 Tobey Maguires wasn't enough high school stuff, and I'm gonna put a disclaimer right here. I haven't watched that first movie in a long time. I think I've only seen it twice in my lifetime. From what I can remember, I don't remember a whole lot of high school scenes. There was definitely some buildup in the high school, and I know there was that fight scene with Flash Thompson where he basically backflips over him and everyone's like, what the heck did he just do? But I think there wasn't enough, and viewing the trailer, it looks like there's gonna be a ton of high school stuff, and that's the storyline that I think helps build his character. Since this isn't a origin story, it's great that they can focus a lot of time on what his high school life is, and then how that transition or that balance between being super responsible hero and a growing teenager is kind of affecting his decisions. And I hope that's what happens in the movie. My last one, my real only worries, I already mentioned one of them, and that's, you know, quickly, hasty CGI work, which I know they've had a lot more time now. In Civil War, it was probably a little bit more of a late decision to bring Spider-Man in, so maybe they had to rush a few things, but I hope that they don't rush anything here. Second one is the overdone references. Obviously, all of the Marvel movies are victims to this because of Disney, where they reference a lot of Disney movie stuff like No Strings on Me and Ultron. But I'm also talking about like Easter eggs. So in Civil War, as an example, most of my opinions are based on that, not too much on the trailers, because a lot of the trailer stuff is so quick and snappy you can't really tell. When he first does his whoosh and he shoots web at Tony Stark, he held it out like this for like way too long. And it's like, okay guys, I get it. You're nodding towards the, you know, the thing he has to do to shoot web. You're really overselling it. Stuff like that kind of bothers me. So like the stuff where they're referencing the wings, hopefully there's not too much of a scene about it. When they're referencing the tech that he has, it shows the little HUD for him. I hope they don't overdo that. But overall, honestly, I think this is gonna be a spectacular movie. I cannot wait to watch it. I'm so stoked, so excited. I almost want to bring my Funko Pop with me, have him just chilling with me in the seat and just watching the movie like, yeah, man. I'm just so stoked. So those are my 3 points that I want to go over for the movie. Hope this video made sense. Definitely gonna do a lot more of these on this channel. As it pertains to the releases coming up, next one obviously is Thor Ragnarok. I gotta get on Amazon and order Some of those look so awesome. I think Marvel had a post on their YouTube channel that was showing all the different Funko Pops. I think there's 7, maybe more total. Definitely not gonna collect them all, but I wanna grab the Hulk one and the Thor one and maybe the Collector. Those are the ones that stand out in my mind right now. Maybe Loki. Shoot, I think I'm gonna have to buy them all. So thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it made sense. Like, comment, subscribe, do all those things. Join the crew. This is currently the 2nd crew, and I think I wanna change the name for you guys. So you are the early subscribers, and I want you to help me figure out a name for this channel. Right now it's just my name. I kinda wanna go with something like Nerdliest, or Nerdcore, or what was the other thing? Maybe some sort of like power-up reference. I had a name, an idea, but it's escaping me now. So if you have any ideas, leave them down in the comments. But until next time, I'll see you in the next one.